in the Mediterranean area of Italy. Things similar to that, you understand. That began when I was a small boy and continued even after my near-death experience. Someone would say that my birth was a near-death experience because of how intense it was. It took 17 hours for me to give birth, and just 1 in 100,000 babies had their water not broken during delivery, because the umbilical cord was entangled around my neck while I was still in the amniotic sac. I experienced a near-death experience during my birth. At 9:22 p.m. Chiron entered my natal chart on July 12, 1978. The astrological designation for the planetary comet Chiron is the wounded healer. That, basically, is my life story. I had to climb out of my own deep depression and trauma before I could figure out how to aid other people. If you want to know how to heal yourself when you're unwell, the best thing to teach them is that no one else can do it but themselves. Meanwhile, there are times when both the timing and the speaker are spot right, because we get used to the hurt. Anything, even a song on the radio, could be the catalyst we need to get over it and start healing. There is a big difference between information and knowledge, but the universe will start to give you the former as you start to question and accept your identity without fear. Therefore, wisdom is not the same as knowledge alone. It is obtained by the ups and downs of life, and the more adversity one endures, the more wisdom one acquires. Already, I had been in a near-death experience. It wasn't until after my near-death experience that my hypersensitivity began. Some people think I was born with an innate talent for mysticism. I feel that I inherited a treasure trove of ancestral knowledge, because to my family's mysticism heritage, what transpired or what was reawakened inside of me remains a mystery to this day, decades after my near-death experience. I was born in 1978, the year following my near-death experience. So yeah, my mom signed me up for a plethora of extracurriculars since I was an exceptionally gifted, athletic, and energetic youngster. I had my near-death experience in early September 1987, just before the start of the school year. I was 9 years old and played a fairly advanced level of soccer at the time. Here in New York, we kicked things off in early September. It was called travel soccer, and there were a lot of different kinds of it that I played. For the older students, there was intramural soccer, and on Sundays, anyone in town could sign up for a rec league. Following that, there was trip soccer, where parents had to pay to participate, and where there was an audition process. They find you through your performance in the town's recreational leagues and sign you as a player. They will seek out the brightest pupils and encourage them to try out for the team. When that day comes, this squad will include every single A student in your county or municipality. I had the opportunity to play soccer in 1978 with the North Rockland Sting, a local amateur team. The best students from my community were all on this team. We competed against towns and cities from all around New York, and the competition was tough. We kept on touring and performing even though it was the middle of winter. The sport would be played indoors. A great deal of rivalry existed. While kids in New York and the Northeast played a wide range of sports throughout the year, we local kids, or at least those in my area, did the same. Those days of playing baseball and soccer, huh? But our rival had a sizable Irish immigrant community that played soccer all year round. These kids were still kicking the ball around in their shorts and elbowing each other, even though it was January. They were untamed. Such roughhousing from those kids was new to us. Despite this, my coach frequently assigned me the task of calming down the more aggressive teammates as I was the most aggressive of the group. Thistle was a place we were fighting against in early September 1987. It was a dreary, chilly September Sunday day when we played. I sprung up and jumped in front of the kid as he swung to score during a particularly rough game. Along with the ball, his foot stumped on my genital area, shattering the plastic cup I was wearing as a protective measure. It ripped my left testicle to shreds. My parents piled me into the car while I lay on the ground since the ambulance was taking its sweet time getting here. On the way to the hospital, I was telling my dad, "You know, I got kicked in the balls. I'll be fine in 20 minutes. I don't want to go to the hospital and take my pants down. Please, I don't want to be embarrassed." I was trying to hide from the shame of everyone staring at me, so I was insistent that I would be all right in 20 minutes. After they took me home, my dad had full faith that I would be okay. It was Sunday afternoon, so I fell asleep. The next Monday is the first day of school. I felt pain as I rose to my feet. As I rode the bus, my mother told me, "Oh, you're fine. Go on the bus." However, the agony I endured that day remains vivid in my memory. I always seem to forget that I have to walk to class. I don't remember ever going to the building, even though they said I had a complete blackout on the way to class. The dark tissue that was starting to emerge indicated that my left testicle had apparently ruptured. Something had twisted it such that it was cutting off the oxygen and blood circulation. Without the emergency surgery to remove the black tissue and operate on my testicle, I would have perished or needed my testicle amputated. Being completely unconscious, I do not remember being transported to a hospital or anything along those lines. In my experience, most people don't remember their dreams, but the ones that do usually involve terrifying, real-life scenarios that make you want to wake up. It was something like that. Sometimes we can reconstruct the moments just before we woke up from a dream if it was so real and vivid that it was the only dream we can remember. But as we go about our day, it starts to go. This dream, similar to the psychic dreams I described before, was significantly more real and persisted for a long time. Its thousand-fold greater potency surpassed that. I got a sudden flash on the operating table right before I woke up. To this day, I can still not remember anything else about that day. As far as I can remember, in the operating room, I was basically draped over my own body, dangled over the operating table, peering downwards at my own body instead of seeing it, while they worked on me. It seemed like I was truly giving birth since my arms and legs were spread out like a lady giving delivery. As someone operated on me, I forgot who I was, where I was, and what was occurring. I couldn't recognize it until I came to terms with the fact that I was thinking about it while it was happening. Oh my God, that's me. I remember clearly making a decision while staring at my mirror, but I was completely conscious of it. I looked down at my feet and thought, I don't want to go back to that pain. It looks really bad. The agony was so bad that I didn't want to go through it all over again, regardless if it was a visual cue or not. I was 9 years old and didn't yet understand the full weight of my actions, but I remember thinking, oh, I don't want to deal with that. I was determined to never go back to that. The instant I made that decision, something shot me out of a cannon. The only analogy that comes to mind is the way Google Earth automatically zooms in as you're about to leave your current location. There was no sign that I was going through an emotional roller coaster. Even though it seemed natural, the speed was too much for me. Everything would normally just stop working when you feel like you're moving at that speed. But I've never felt this energized and alive as I do right now. The colors, the music, and the information it provided were all vivid and lively. In the most improbable way possible, I raced up the mountain. When I was leaving Earth, I went across this ocean, which was kind and smart. The verdant scenery resembled a sparkling ocean. More than that, I can discern what sound like bird and whale cries when I listen to it. Such matters. Through this lush sea of life, I swam. My understanding of plasma auroras, namely the green ones that can sometimes be seen emerging from the magnetosphere, solidified as my knowledge grew over time. But this mind was alive and conscious as I moved through it. It encircled me, drew near me, and led the way. As I was thinking, oh, I don't want to go back to that, A reassuring aura of wisdom appeared to me in the form of lights and orbs, preceding my sudden ascent. On my north, south, east, and west, it hoisted me up and propelled me into an exact coordinate. They seemed to be leading you to a certain location, as if you possessed the exact coordinates of paradise. I stood tall and almost in a crucifixion stance with my legs spread wide apart, as if I were virtually scissor-armed. From my vantage point on the hospital bed, I seemed to dangle precariously above the ground. And this position persisted throughout, even as I advanced. What I felt as I dangled there, staring down at Earth, was just that. Then the wheels started to spin. The Earth is not flat either, as far as I can determine. Picturesque torus. Have you ever encountered a torus? Not unlike a torus, but with the addition of a candle and an open top, quite similar. As far as I could tell, its rotation was perpendicular to the direction of light speed. So, as I indicated earlier, it did not appear to be flat when I glanced below. But this is how I normally describe it, as I am also a radio host and podcaster. If you've been listening to my radio show for any length of time, you could have overheard me talking about these or similar subjects. Over the years, my explanation for it has changed. For a long time, I avoided talking about what happened, but rehashing the details was like stepping into a sweltering summer day. A holographic, see-through phenomena, sometimes visible on very hot days, gives the impression that the sky is actually water, creating the illusion of a shimmering wave. Thus, I beheld it right before my eyes. An elongated wave shimmers in front of me as I suspend myself above Earth's surface. What seemed like a tube was the build. Ironically, my knowledge of the universe and my wisdom have both increased with the passage of time. My initial description was that of a cylinder or some sort of transparent glass structure housing water. Nonetheless, I was utterly unsure of what it actually was. I saw a plasma vortex in motion, therefore I'm assuming it was somewhere in the magnetosphere. On top of that, it was cylindrical in form. I jumped headfirst into the shimmering wave as if it were created for me. It appeared out of nowhere. My body acted in accordance with its natural inclinations. Felt like every fiber of my body, from the crown to the very tip of my head, was being probed, and scanned the moment I stepped inside. It was being, bar none. Despite my inability to decipher any data, it felt as though every bit of knowledge in the cosmos was analyzing me. Even though I was just 9 years old, I felt judged, and it was incredibly strange. Following in the footsteps of the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead, this one shows the pharaoh entering the afterlife with Anubis and having his soul measured. Basically, it was the same thing. As my knowledge of ancient Egyptian literature grew, I came to understand that the Book of Two Ways, the Book of Caverns, and the Book of the Dead all detail the adventures that the pharaoh or solar king had while sailing through heavenly seas. On top of that, I wasn't exactly drenched either. I was transported to a world of liquid, yet I didn't actually get wet. It appeared to be the universe, ancient wisdom, and information while I was inside it, as I said before. Believe me when I say that it was more alive, forceful, real, and powerful than this reality could ever be. There was life within. Symbols and lettering in the manner of electric fire were really astounding. The second thing I recalled, then, was the shock that brought me back to my physical form. Wasn't it? I am suddenly consumed by a whirlwind of conflicting emotions, including anger, confusion, indignation, and indecision. Quite a bit, actually. Upon coming to, I was curious as to what had transpired and where I had gone, saying things like, "No, you were dreaming or hallucinating. We just had surgery, you're fine now." I'm telling you, no one can convince me that what happened was just a dream or a hallucination brought on by my unconsciousness. It seemed more real, vibrant, and intelligent than the experience. Have you ever woken up from a dream that seemed to vanish into thin air, despite how genuine it looked? This stayed with me and started a series of events that have brought me to this point in my life, which is both interesting and meaningful. Why? Simply put, I did not transform into a world-changing hero after going through that. What seemed like decades of pain passed before I finally understood what had roused me from my slumber. For some reason, it's as if before that happened, my body had neurons and DNA that had been dormant. I had no clue what was going on with things that had been dormant before that event, but they suddenly started working. I mean, I finally figured out who the fuck turned on these lights inside of me, but it took a long time. A few lights in the home flickered off and then turned back on. I had no clue these rooms existed, and I now know they house priceless historical records. I was stumped until I finally figured it out. So, what's happening in May of 2024? Put another way, are you even vaguely aware? I thought May was when the earth was reborn. The blossoms that are shooting up are a sign of new life being formed. Furthermore, a major eclipse happened not long ago. The amount of light that the earth receives during the next few months will depend on the thoughts and vibrations of all sentient beings on the planet during the eclipse and the spring equinox. Because human vibrations and ideas affect the entire solar system, and because the energy that leaves Earth alters the waves that return to it. This makes perfect sense. You may say that our circles are complementary. There is a cosmic origin for all things, including energy and data. Furthermore, all the data from the stars and suns is channeled into one sun. It follows that the sun and every star have distinct personalities and vibrations. Their data will be transmitted to a central sun, which will vibrate it to improve its accuracy, and then resend it into space. Receiving these emanations is the first step in a process that continues when our own vibrations alter them. We send them hurtling into space, where the moon will receive them, alter them via its vibrations, and then return them to space. After we obtain those, we resend them. In a never-ending cycle of mutual harmony, the vibrational energies of each individual and planetary system are altered by their own frequencies. Earth is altering the vibration of the entire solar system, which impacts the universe, because a planet can modify the vibration of the solar system. The events of May will be dictated by our vibration in April. You know, the end will justify the means. We can see a significant difference in the reflection that comes down when we start to generate a higher vibrational energy amongst ourselves. The sun grants us light, which is a form of knowledge, and it also brings about all the natural phenomena that occur on Earth, such as storms, lightning, thunder, and hurricanes. Everything is thus dictated by the frequency of our personal energy. May will bring some good things, but I also expect a dramatic change in the financial situation and a new way of looking at things. A solar event, such a coronal mass ejection, would cause a temporary shutdown of all technological systems in 2025, according to my prediction. I was shown this at a megalithic site, and it's actually about sunstorms, solar prominence loops, solar flares, CMEs, and related phenomena do, in fact, happen. Classical writings mostly detail coronal loops. Coronal loops resemble those found on the Hindu Pasha and the Egyptian Ankh. Would you be interested if I showed you a book I happen to have here? This is an example of a solar prominence loop, which can be described as an extended solar flare, coronal mass ejection, or even a solar flare. It is possible for coronal loops and flares to develop periodically. This Ankh is a central electrons in a spiral pattern. Isn't that it? While the majority of the electrons emitted by these loops are absorbed by our magnetosphere, all fraction of reach Earth and manifests as auroras and other natural phenomena. But that's all the info that's making it to Earth, and it might make all our technological systems outdated. It has the potential to destroy all life on Earth if it is powerful enough to flood the planet with space water, or, more precisely, cosmic radiation, causing total darkness and the elimination of all lights, both natural and man-made. In addition, they make note of this in their forecasts. During the 3 days of darkness, a Catholic woman named Anna Maria Teji recounts her encounter with the prophet. On top of that, solar flares could be involved. The sun, who is both a judge and a god, is the supreme power in our solar system. Do you not understand that the sun's rays cannot be escaped? There is nothing hidden from the sun. Sunlight kills all forms of life on Earth. Anything that the sun's rays touch will eventually perish. When the sun goes down, the day is over. Consequently, the sun will eliminate all problems in the solar system and start over with Earth if that is the problem. So far, this is the proof we have. Sunlight is becoming more intense. We are experiencing events. An occurrence known as the Carrington occurrence happened in the 1800s. The technological skills that we take for granted today did not exist in those days. Despite having telegraphs, the telegraph offices were burned down. They seemed to catch fire. It is described by the Carrington event. The most likely years were 1859 and 1879. In addition, 2025 may see the return of highly powerful solar storms. Additionally, it is referenced in the Sanskrit-written ancient Hindu scriptures. Pasha is among them. P denotes pawn. This person is sometimes called the Varuna Pasha. Here we learn about Varuna, goddess of the sun. The solar ocean and all its waters are ruled by the goddess Varuna. Given this, what role does that god have in solar energy? Many images of Ganesha and Varuna feature multiple arms. A mythological deity with multiple arms stands in for the sun's swirling vortex, with each arm symbolizing a different aspect of the sun's character. You are required to have a hand on the loop continuously, aren't you? This loop is always being held by one of the deities, Varuna or Ganesha. This is the appearance of the Pasha loop. According to folklore, it is a golden rope that entangles souls and whisks them away to paradisal seas. That is called the golden noose by them. So you're claiming that this is the same person as the Egyptian Ankh and the Hindu Pasha. They're depicting a spiritual scene, yet it feels really authentic. Who could have imagined a more fitting description than a celestial golden strand of fire ensnaring spirits and lowering them into paradisiacal seas? Some also think that the serpents of these pasas can drive evil spirits away from Earth. As it snakes out from the sun, electricity travels through plasma waves. Thus ends the story. The serpent stands in for the route that data follows from the sun, and it is often depicted alongside the sun god Urus in ancient Egyptian art. The same as when you're here, right? Located at the base of the sun is Anan, a resident of the late 18th dynasty. Plasma waves are the means by which information is being transmitted from the surface of the sun to Earth. Solar energy is transmitted to Earth in this manner. Further, they show the sun's beams bringing one of the loops down to its solar monarch. Would I be right? It is bringing together previously unrelated pieces of information and paving the route for spirits to travel. In English, doesn't the name Anan mean sunlight? You mean the sun's rays, right? His admiration is directed towards that. The conventional wisdom holds that Anan was honoring Aten, the solar disk. He was more concerned with the light it produced than with the sun disk itself. Consequently, the light's descending angle is critical. The word angel originates from this idea due to its warped perception. In ancient Egyptian literature, and even in Freemasonry and the Masons, there is a specific directional item with an angle, like a geometrical angle of 60 or 45 degrees. That object is always on display, you know? The data is being described by the angle of light. It is quite remarkable to find some of the most profound wisdom preserved here from bygone eras. Symbolic representations of Vedic mantras are the basis of Egyptian hieroglyphics. Incredible, and connected to data sent by bacteria from plasma and space. A large portion of it. What do I think will happen to humanity? I worry that we are on the verge of changing into something completely different. We must not fail to acknowledge that technology has the power to stifle spirituality. The ancient people found a way to harmonize with nature and the universe by connecting with earth energies, such as sacred megalithic sites, and harnessing solar and cosmic energy. But these days we build machines to do these things automatically, taking the place of the technologies we should be using ourselves. We should not sit back and allow technology to perform our work for us. Rather, we should actively participate in it. In the end, technology will win out, won't it? Thus, in an earlier, more telepathic era, we subsisted primarily on the resources and energy of the natural world. It is no longer done that way. Now that instant messaging is available, though, being spiritually connected seems pointless when you can simply email or IM everyone at once. Our dependence on a replica of technology that we should be using is eroding our sense of self. It is my firm belief that we must drastically transform the human condition before our species perishes. I have not lost faith in humanity or in the world's inherent goodness. Many overlook the fact that occasionally a single person can change everything. However, one incident has the potential to change everything. View Dr. Seuss's one story, Horton Hears a Who. Seeing that one where an elephant has superhuman hearing and can sense a whole other world full of people. Since none of them can hear anything beyond the elephant's extraordinary hearing, he is being told, no, those aliens don't exist, those people don't exist, even if he can discern their voice. When one of those other people has the same experience with those people as he did, though, everything changes. All that's required is the belief in one individual, even when all others dismiss them as crazy. What we may learn from such experiences is that there is genuine wisdom in them. All it takes is just one spark to unleash our whole potential, just like a wave of DMT that envelops the entire planet. The dominance of technology, ego, selfishness, and materialism has led me to believe that a huge wave of change is imminent. In the course of things, it doesn't matter if you lose. Currency is meaningless. I want to know how you're feeling. So why don't you just pass away? It would be devastating to lose one's health along with one's loved ones and friends. One thing that can be lost is one's sense of self-respect. Lost funds are still funds. In today's world, losing money is more terrifying than losing loved ones, professional relationships, or even one's health. They are completely unconcerned with anything as long as they are making money.